Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. In this video we're going to show you off two new monsters which you haven't seen and a brand new build which is very different from everything I've been using up until this point. For this one we're going from Sanctuarium, which the last video showed off the Blitz build, and this time we're going over to Avalon. So I have dressed my sorceress sort of appropriately. This is one of the costumes that I really like. I believe the raiment is called Knight, and I'm just using the faction color. It looks really cool, doesn't it? And I'm using the sort of, what do you want to call them, the Diablos-like horns, which are very cool. For allies, I'm bringing Persepius. I'm getting sick of some of my Sanctuarium buddies being upset when I sacrifice stuff. So I thought it might be fun also to get some variety in here. So we have the leader of Avalon with us. And this is a very interesting build that was on the Japanese Wikipedia. I thought it was weird, because it seems very contradictory to what you think when you play the game. But it works really well, so I want to show it off today against two cool monsters. So the whole idea of this one is you're going to be using arms. Arm is basically you transfer your arm into that of a demon, and you pound the daylights out of the enemy. The cool thing about arms is that you do have the ability, because it's a very hard hitting weapon and takes time, it's sort of like a hammer. This thing does count as a strong hit, so if you hit a boss before they do a very specific move, like they're in the middle of their wind-up animation, you can get downs. So you can interrupt them, you can get them knocked down, so being aggressive with these things and up close is really good. The drawback, of course, is being that you generally play this thing as Avalon, which would mean very low defense, very high offense. The point of this build is to tank it, like completely different. Because these things are so powerful. Like, let me show you these other arms. So the other arms in the game, even at, like, 115, 230, 230, 390. Yeah, it's that powerful. So unless the foe is actually weak, it has a strength against Volt, which is just a few monsters in the game, you're always going to be better off taking the Abyssal Arm over anything here. Even if the monster is, let's say, weak to Frost, it's still going to be better for you to use this one. The only case in which it does not the case is if they are specifically strong against Volt. Like you're going up against a, like Volt-based monster. In which case, we'll use another build. Or another arm. But the point of this one is this is so powerful that we don't need the bonuses from magic levels in order to really overpower the enemy. So we're going to use all that extra, and we are going to pump it into defense to become a tank. And we are going to get up in the face of the monsters and have a lot of fun. So we've got two of these arms, just in case they run out. We are using the Dullahan armor. This is really good against physical attacks, so nothing elemental, and it doesn't slow you down like stone armor. Of course, we're using the the Starveling's Fruit. This will give us plus 200 attack at the beginning, which is very important. And then, I don't always use it, but we do have the platform. It's good for either countering or just getting up high. But we're not going to really need to use it so much, and you're going to see why. I am going to be using the Assassin's Wingtip. This is actually the same type of evasive offering as the Ground Mole. I hope I said that right. Let's find out. So if we go over here to evasive, the Mole Claw, sorry. So it's a ground evasive, and what it does is it has very short distance, but it has you go under the ground, so you are invincible a little bit. And then you pop up and you do like a Shoryuken, like from Street Fighter. Like you jump up high in the air and you can do an attack. And you can follow this up with one extra attack with the arm. So it's going to be uber powerful because we're going to be on top of the monsters. We're not going to be anywhere away from them. So this thing is going to be great for breaking parts, for just hitting them in their weak spots, for massive damage, you name it. Now I think most people choose to bring the Mole Claws, but you're always going to want it, so I just figure why not just bring this one. It only has 3 casts, but I can care less, which is why I haven't even leveled it up beyond this, even though I can. And that is the build. The thing that really makes this thing stand out is if you look at my level, it's level 76 life and 24 magic, which means that I'm using Divine Arm 4, which is, this is the contradictory part, right? Because when you go into the sigils, you'll notice the arm magic, the 40 and the 35% up here. I'm not getting the huge bonus from Dark Arm 4. So that's plus 70% and plus 80%, 150% up damage I'm leaving on the table. And you know why? Because, man, the defense boost you get when you put on this is ridiculous. Right now my defense is 859. I can actually take off this attack, go down and go over to this Sanctuarium sigil, and it brings me up to 1122. It's just ridiculous. If you take the 1122, what that means is basically when you throw away the decimal point, you divide it by 100, so it's about 11. So it's 1/11th damage for every attack is what we'll take. So there are some diminishing returns, which is why I generally like to keep this one as attack. So we're at 859, so, you know, 1 out of 8.5 damage we'll take. It's not bad. It's actually really good. Then we have 204 attack, 406 recovery, so, you know, healing's going to be very good. And we're going to be pumped up with defense, and that's why we have the Divine Arm 4. And of course, the Dark Resonance does kick in here, so we do get 108% additional magic. So honestly, losing out on the 150% is not a big deal, because we've got more than enough defense to make up for it, and we are going to be pounding the monsters in. For the Heart Sigil, we will move over, sorry about that, we'll move over to the Arm Magic Sigil. This is really important for doing this build because you're going to need the extra boost. At max, this thing goes up to 160, I only have 110 there now, but this is just fine. So we are maxing out as much defense and healing as we can. And that is sort of the concept of the build, so it's pretty fun. So, I figured today we have 2 monsters I want to show. The reason why I want to show 2 is because it would end up being a rather short video, because one of these is like clear the quest in under 5 minutes. So if I do that, then it's going to be mostly me just talking about the build and reading a story and less gameplay, and I don't want that. So, 2 monsters we haven't seen, and I'm going to read the stories. This first one is quite an interesting one. This is the Tortoise and the Hare. You can already guess from the picture here that we're talking about a dominatrix. She knew that the way she expressed her love towards men was different. She loved to see men cry. Nothing stirred her like seeing their desperate, choked sobs. She couldn't fight her desire to make the people she loved suffer. Such was her nature. Powerful men, men of authority, were the ones she liked the best. It truly moved her to see the change between the normal, public faces of these men and the way their faces looked twisted with agony. She loved to ride the backs of men crawling on the ground and lash at their backsides with her whip. Their cries of pain made her shiver with pleasure. She wanted, needed, to completely dominate the men she liked. She knew just what men disliked, and she knew just how to please them. She made a sport of men's hearts through the judicious use of these carrots and sticks. She trawled the taverns for men. They were usually such an easy catch. All she had to do was show a little flesh, and most of the time, they'd come to her. The rabbit ears that she put on as a mischievous little joke were a surprising success. With her looks and chinky wink, she'd attract dirty leers from all the lecherous layabouts. Those who associated with her would soon be trapped. She'd educate men with her honeyed words, and they'd soon be under her thumb. She'd live off the money of several men at once, something of a charmed life. She was soon infamous as the Rabbit Ear Witch. One day, a nobleman approached the Rabbit Ear Woman. They rapidly became close. She'd always been like that with men in her past, and as soon as their relationship moved into territory approaching love, she'd show her true colors. She started to abuse the man. It started with the words, "You slow-witted oaf, you're no better than a turtle." Yet somehow, the nobleman would just smile. So the rumors were true then. He was pleased. She was just the woman he was looking for. The man came clean. He was tired of being a leader. Such was the burden of the nobility. He could never let anyone see his weakness, and if he let his stoic act slip even once, he'd be forced into the gutter. Sometimes he just wanted to throw away his mask and reveal how pathetic he truly was. He must have wanted to feel what it was like to lay down his burden, even if it was for only a moment. Sometimes he wanted to be the one taking orders. He could never rely on others, and wanted to feel what it was like, even if it was just pretend. He developed a pet theory, that by experiencing what it was like for the others, he'd be able to maintain his heart's balance. The nobleman begged the rabbit-eared woman to punish him even more. And so she did, in all kinds of ways, and he would always beg her for more. Using the money she'd taken from him, she created a range of tools and props. The shell was the one that the nobleman loved the most. She'd make him wear a custom-made, weighty shell, and have him crawl around on the floor, crackling at the sight of him struggling even to relieve himself. She'd sit on his shell and hurl abuse at him. "Pathetic turtle, you're the dullest, slowest of them all." and how he would shiver with delight. The weakness the man showed may have been hard to understand, but it was a truly human and delicate thing. The woman felt that she was the only one who could soothe his pain. The more she thought this, the deeper her affection for him became. She truly loved him then. When the man showed his weakness with his demands for abuse, she was all too willing to grant him his desire. She felt like his dependence on her would soon soothe her own pain somehow. She had a faint inkling of why she made men suffer. It was the reverse of the nobleman's desire, in fact. Women are weak creatures who simply can't stand up to men, she thought. She felt like she knew this better than anyone. Her own mother had suffered greatly through abuse from her father. The things she saw as a child would not vanish from her memory with time. She was afraid that she would end up like her mother. To wipe clean these bitter memories of her mother and father from her mind, she tried to dominate men, even if it was only pretend. She racked her brains for ways to abuse him. At one point, she tried to avoid actively abusing him at all, and abandoned him instead. As she ignored him, a pained expression crossed his face. It was the finest face of his she'd seen. That seemed to be the most effective form of abuse. Strangely, the more she trained and dominated the man, the more powerful he grew in his daily life. In the day, he would be a leader. At night, the woman would sit upon his back. Perhaps that was how the man found balance. He continued to make his way up in the world, and as he did, his demands of the woman increased in turn. He asked her to escalate her domination. Yet the woman could not think of any new ways to abuse him. Still, this man could only confide in his weakness to her was so unbearably charming that she simply could not refuse. The desire to grant his request bubbled deep within her mind. As if summoned by this wish, a peculiar scene unfurled before her. It was a white chalice hanging in the very ear before her and seemed to speak directly into her mind. "I can grant you your desire if you need only pay the price." Without hesitation, she spoke of her desire. She wanted the nobleman to feel utter despair, as proof of her domination over him. The nobleman needed her desperately. It was clear and simple how to make him suffer the most. Who would not suffer at the loss of a loved one? Yes, she had thought of the ultimate form of abandonment. She died right before his very eyes, telling him with her final words that she had no attachment to the world, nor would she miss him. The man witnessed the loss of his lover. He could not tear his eyes away. Never would he forget her. He was haunted by her memory until the day he died. That was a curse in which she enthralled him. To make him suffer, she would appear before him as a phantom. Perhaps that was her greatest wish. She had gained complete control of him, including his life itself. Yet that was not all. To prolong his suffering, eternally if she could, she transformed him into a real turtle. She had heard that turtles lived longer than men. They say that to this day, the man can still hear the voice of the woman abusing him. "Pathetic turtle, you're the dullest, slowest of them all." Such an interesting story, isn't it? So one thing I want to show you guys is if you use a DualShock 4 through Bluetooth, this doesn't work with the DualShock 3 that comes with the PlayStation TV, and you hold down the power button, you can actually turn on use touch pointer in games. And what this allows you to do is use this little trackpad, and you can go down to this, and you can tap it, and it will give you some hints on how to fight. So the rabbit-eared witch. Target the hare first. Attacking her will stop the tortoise in his tracks as well. The tortoise is completely subservient to her and will only act when she commands. I think that's a neat mechanic. And then there's one more hint here. The more powerful he grew, the more she trained and dominated him. So for this one it says, the tortoise will howl and create a barrier when the hare is in danger. The barrier avoids all magic, so closing in at this point is the key to victory. So if you're playing a build where you're doing like long distance magic, you're going to be in for a tough time once he howls and he creates the barrier. So they're probably just giving you a hint here that you're going to want to get in there close and hit the rabbit. Lucky for us, our build does exactly that. So let's go and face the dominating estranged land, the tortoise and hare. I'm not going to use any rumors for this one. Let me make sure I take off these. I was just using those for leveling up. And no rumors, and let's go on. This is difficulty 13, so it's not that bad at all. It's not like 15, and it's not like Alice's Dungeon, which would be even harder. So it should be pretty easy, so I might take it a little easy on the monster just so we can see some of the attacks. I do like how even though they're playing with, you know, obviously pretty extreme subjects here, they always do keep it, you know, grounded in a way to human emotion. Usually these poor people come from horrible pasts of abuse and they're just trying to find happiness. So it's very easy to identify, at least with that raw emotion that they have. It just makes me hate the chalice even more because it preys on them, it takes advantage of them and doesn't care. So we are in Alice's Wonderland. I do love this map a lot.
I shall save this impure world.
Oh, Sympathy, I don't think you can do that. I think the world's far too gone for that. So before we activate or trigger the boss, let's go ahead and buff up. Fuse some apples down the mound. Now, normally I would take that second apple and I would down it, the other two with it, but I don't want them to be overpowered. I'm going to pull on my Dullahan armor, which it's unfortunate because I really like the outfit I was wearing. And let me show you what this ground evasion attack does. So when I press forward and X, I go through the ground, and I can release it really fast. No, actually I can't. I have to do an attack. So if I summon my claw here, you'll notice it's a very fast animation where normally it wouldn't be. It'd be more like that. You'd summon it and the arm has, at least this one has, what is it, a 4 or 5 hit combo? Yeah, 5 hit combo. The speed is actually pretty fast compared to the other arms. This thing is just way OP. I just really like it. And you can hold it down if you really want to get big damage in and you want to use up the offering. I don't recommend it because now we just lost a cast. But you can hold down the circle button. So the cool thing here is like we can go like forward. Let me show you how this works. We can go forward and pop up, or we can do it really fast. Boom. And this allows us... Sorry. And I can do a follow-up air hit, which is really great. Boom. And since I'm so tanky and I've got armor on, I'm not going to care at all about getting hit. It's not going to be a big deal. Let's see what they look like. Well, if that is not a sight for disturbing eyes, check that out. So he's all choked and dead, and he's stuck in his tortoise cage because he's been turned into... Oh gosh, she's gonna do this one. Ow! See, it barely damaged me though. We can just tank it. I'm just trying to get a good look at the monster so you can see what they look like. That's the Hare on top, commanding him. She's so evil. Psh, psh, psh. Get him! And then we'll just use our position up here to smack her. So let me go down over here. And if we go to the broken parts, you can see that she's one of them. The ill part is the shell of the turtle. And then the other two parts are the, was it, front legs of the turtle. So let's go after her first, just like they were telling us to do. Oh. Where did she just go? Oh, she just jumped. You see how I can get up there really high because of that jump attack? If she does the zoomies... oops, I accidentally canceled my spell. I shouldn't have done that. I can't talk and play at the same time. It's really tough. So when she's spinning, if she runs into this platform, it will knock her down, I believe. So let's see if this works. Come after me. Yeah, and we get it down here. Read your elders and watch yourself, young lady. Okay, let's, we're Avalon, so we just need to sacrifice to recharge our spells. Where is she? There she is. So let's go after her still. This is actually a pretty difficult hunt if you do not have a ton of defense. So what you're seeing is very different from how someone else might play it. Did you run into that? Thank you. I don't know if that's actually hitting her or the shell. I almost feel like I'm hitting the shell with those attacks. Try going back a little bit more. Hitting from behind. At least then I know it's her.
Come, we must pacify this beast.
There we go. So we got... The Hare is down. I believe that was the Hare we got. Yeah. So she's dead. So, well, she's broken. So, I mean, she's just going to be much slower. Does she actually move at all when she's... Yeah, she's still moving. She's just broken. So it just limits her power to command him. Oh, there's the barrier. See, he's put up the barrier now to protect her. And Sympatha's magic is now being reflected. That's okay. We'll go in there and we'll break it. Let's go in there and break the shell. Now they're enraged. Okay. Let's get it on. Alright, it's one arm down. Go for the other. There's that arm down. Now let's break the shell. You see, I didn't... Oh, there we go. Now we got all the parts. So you see, I haven't even put on my armor. If I put on my armor again... one of the downfalls of our magic is that it will decrease it. Oh, we're almost out of time. Okay, let's quick kill it. Apples, apples, apples. Been doing too much talking. I forgot we had a time limit on this quest. There we go. Bye bye. Boy, he's out. He's out. He wanted to be tortured too much. Is this him?
I don't want to die. So much fun.
No, this is a doppelganger. It's not actually him. We should go fight the actual one. That might be funner than doing two monsters. And we had 18 seconds left on the timer. Nice. Sympathy's gonna be upset. He's gonna sacrifice. She has such faith. Yeah, right. She likes it. She just won't admit it. We put him out of his misery. And we only got a plus for it. So let's do that. Let's find the original Tortoise and the Hare, not the doppelgangers. If you remember, a doppelganger is someone or sorcerer that was like killed by them. And then they sort of became a version of them. It's almost like vampirism or something like that. Only a first rate. You're just a first-rate sorcerer, so slow. I can imagine her saying to us as she crawls on our back. We got two spells, which I'll show you off, which is a Cruel Hare Carapace, which is magic of the Tortoise and the Hare transformed into a spinning shell. It's fun. It's a blitz attack. And then we have a Roar, which is the Cruel Hare's Pipe. Magic of the Tortoise and the Hare scatters thorns around the caster. Okay, so let's check out the spells really fast, so we can see the spoils. This is the Roar. It has 7 casts, 30 power at gold, not black. And then the Blitz has 25 power, so it's pretty weak. But it has 16 casts, which is a lot. I wonder how much that would be if I were to make it gold. Well, I actually have one. A black one here. Sorry. 50, and it only has 8 casts. That's not nearly as enticing, but that's how that goes. So let's go and check it out. So that's that normal animation. You can see how long it is. So this is the roar. Ah! Just a good old torture spike. Fun fact, the attack power that they show you on a roar spell is actually what it is if you fully charge it. It's actually weaker if you don't fully charge it. Okay, that's cool and all. And this is the blitz. So can we move during this or no? We can't. Okay, so let's hold it. Well, that is hilarious. So we're not doing much damage, but we can hold it down and we can just like trap a monster in the corner and do lots of, I'm thinking this is stone damage, so we can possibly petrify a monster. So yeah, I could see where you'd want this one to be the black one so it could be more powerful. Oh, and there, it's over. That's interesting. It's very different from the other blitz spells, isn't it? Huh. Attack mid, 16 stone. Interesting. Okay, well, let's get out of here and go find the original, because I want to see what they look like. So if you notice, we don't see anything in here that says Gemini or Doppelganger. That means that this is actually the original one from the story, which is nice. So you have all these things here. The target was originally a human from an impoverished region. In such a dire place, its no desire so easily overwhelmed and wrought hideous transformation. The beast seemed ready to destroy everything in the vicinity. The hatred was palpable against the world, its people, and its very absurdity. What happened next? I sacrificed the beast. Humans become monsters must be purged, after all, no matter the cause of their grotesque transfigurations. So if you noticed here, I killed the Tortoise in here, and that unlocked the only case of like an extreme version of Jack Frost alone. So if you're looking for Jack Frost, that's where he is. Then we have another quest here, Griffin, along with Phoenix, which sounds like a pain. If we save it, then we unlock these. We can always go back and just spend a little lacrima to fudge these. So I want to actually save the Tortoise and the Hare here so we can get them as an NPC for our team. That would be fun. There we go.
I can't die. I won't die.
So this is the man that she had, huh? We'll save him. We'll see what's up with him. All the NPCs are actually really helpful if you level them up to level S. They just fill in different roles, you know, like someone who does a lot of healing, someone who does thunder attacks, fire attacks, you know, stuff like that. You're lucky, punk. So now they'll ask you, since I had previously sacrificed, they'll ask you, hey, do you want to rewrite the result? You don't have to. I will, just to show you what the other path is. He's Grim, so he's a Chelipus. So we'll check him out and see what his spells are. I saved the monster. After all, I must consider, is the true evil human greed, or the world that births it? It's a good question, isn't it? So let's go to allies. Let's go to Grim. That would be neutral. And go down to... Let's scroll through a bunch of them. Get an idea of some of the costumes in this game as well. There he is. Okay, so he does the two Tortoise ones. So he does the Cruel Hare Carapace and he does the Cruel Hare's Pipe. He has a Healing Bloom. Was that the Homing? Magic for Ice. Thunder Bomb, a little bit of everything. And then the Boulder Bug Shell. So, he's basic. I do like that he has the torture device straps already on his body, ready to go. Looks like a fit dude. But his butt was dominated. Okay, and to wrap up the episode, we will read the item descriptions in the Ars Magica, because we do get more verbose descriptions here. So the Cruel Hare Carapace. Shell of the Hare's slave, heavy enough to hobble its wearer. She would make men carry it to teach them the weight of love. It's one way of putting it. And let's check out the roar. This is the cruel hare's pipe. The hare's pipe was more for torture than smoking. She enjoyed watching the tortoise's pain when she dumped its hot ashes on him. Oh, that's mean. That's not cool. But whatever floats your boat, right? Or whatever moves your turtle. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed me focusing on just one monster, or if you'd like me to see me go a little bit faster through it and just do like 2 an episode, as I cover up some of the new builds and monsters that we haven't seen in our playthrough yet. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy hunting and don't wish on a chalice.